you're going on a cruise, it can seem like there are so many things to think about when you are getting ready and you are packing for a cruise. However, in this video, we're going to be going through the 10 first aid kit essentials, so those things you really need for your cruise and don't want to forget. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website and blog Life Well Cruised, where we help thousands of cruisers a month get ready for their cruise with our cruise travel tips. Now today what I'm going to be doing is going over 10 things that you need for your first aid kit or your first aid essentials for your cruise. Now, if you do like this video, I'll just ask you if you could please give it a thumbs up. It really does mean a lot to me, and it helps me to know that you do like this content and that I should create more content like this. And of course, please leave me a comment. And if you do enjoy cruise content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get started. So as you're going on a cruise, you might notice there's just so much to think about and to pack. And part of that reason is just because, in contrast to a land trip, not everything is available on the cruise ship in the same way. Now, something to keep in mind is if somebody does get sick, if you really do have a problem, there is a doctor on board, there's a nurse on board. So you don't have to worry about that. There is a medical center, so you could always go there. But what I'm talking about is those first aid items, those small ailments that you might have. You just want to have those items with you because on the cruise ship, first of all, it may not be readily available. The cruise ship shops are not available all the time. They're not always open. And when it is open, there just may not be everything that you are used to having. There may not be your favorite products. Their chances are it won't be. And what they do have is going to be a lot more expensive than what you can find at home. So it's a good idea to bring along your favorites, your favorite first aid items, keep them with you, and as well bring some other things that you may not usually need at home, but you might need when you are on a vacation. So the first thing, this might go without saying, but it's your prescription medication. So probably it's pretty obvious if you're taking medication every day to make sure that that's on your packing list. Don't forget that, that's really important. But there might be other medication that you have that is a prescription, but it is as needed. Well, you may need it during that week or 2 weeks or 10 days of that cruise vacation. So make sure that you do have medication that is as needed, that is not taken regularly. Make sure that it is on your packing list. Number 2, the other thing that you'll want to think about is your pain reliever. So whether you like your ibuprofen or your acetaminophen, so your Advil or your Tylenol, or something else, just make sure that you do bring that along with you. I actually usually like to keep it in a few places. I keep a little bit in my handbag and my tote bag if we're going on a shore excursion, and I may keep some in my bathroom as well, in the cabin, so that if I have my medication on me, that if somebody else goes back to the cabin, they can still take their Advil, because I get a headache sometimes, so I like to have that with me. I do actually pack a lot of like little Ziploc bags of things. So that's just my kind of way of keeping organized. So I'll go through the things that I do as I go through this video. Number 3, if you have children, make sure to bring the medication that your children need and use. So if it's cold medicine, if it's children's Tylenol, if it's Tempra, there will be limited amounts of children's medicine on board. It may not even be available. So make sure that you bring your favorites, even something for a little sore throat, anything like that. Make sure that you do have that with you. Number 4, Band-Aids, and you'll want to keep as well a little bit of antibiotic ointment and some alcohol wipes as well, especially like sometimes you might be on a shore excursion, so you may not have access to soap and water, so you'll want to at least be able to clean the area. And as well, I always keep like some antibiotic ointment. I also keep more than one, and I just keep these little Ziploc baggies, and I have like these little first aid mini packs that I make for shore excursions. I keep it in my shore excursion bag with a few different Band-Aids of different sizes. I just find that that tends to be what we use the most, is like Band-Aids, and you know, I like polysporin is usually what I use, but any type of antibiotic ointment that you particularly like. Number 5. So number 5 is a big one because it's everything to do with stomach ailments. So firstly, I often think about things like antacids, so like Rolaids and Tums and Pepto-Bismol, and you can even get them in the little kind of chewable tablets. And the reason for that is that, let's face it, you're on a cruise vacation, and we all tend to sometimes eat and drink a little bit more than we might at home. Maybe the food is a little richer, the alcohol is a little bit more. We go to the islands, maybe we're eating things that are different. So having something to settle your stomach is really handy. I like to actually even bring these like, you know, something that's in a package that I can just kind of take with me even on shore excursion days, or that I can have, you know, a little bit like this in my little wristlet for the evening time or something. And other things to think about is even something like Dulcolax for constipation. So you might want to have some laxatives, just a small amount. But even if you don't regularly get this at home, you are eating differently on a cruise ship, and you know, sometimes we just need that. So that's handy to have because it's not really readily available on the cruise ship. And something else to think about is the opposite. If you have some diarrhea or some stomach issues and you need some Imodium or something like that. Now, in our experience, this has not been available on the cruise ship. You could go to the medical center, to the doctor, and you could explain your problem. And if you do suspect that you have a virus or that you have a flu, definitely go see the doctor. They will give you something for it, and they probably also will want to make sure that they contain that because they don't want it to spread around the cruise ship. But, you know, if you just have some diarrhea after you've gone and you've maybe eaten at one of the islands or something like that, and you need a little bit of help with that, make sure that you do have a little bit of Imodium or something equivalent like that. And the last thing is rehydrate tablets. So something just to rehydrate after maybe you got some seasickness and you know you were vomiting, or for any other reason, but you'll want to maybe have those rehydrate tablets because that'll just restore your electrolytes and make you start feeling better again soon. Number 6. So everything that has to do with seasickness. Now, we could do a whole other video on seasickness, and as a matter of fact, I do have one. I'll link it above. And so that'll give you a ton of tips about what to do if you do get seasick or to prevent seasickness. But, you know, in terms of just what to bring in case you do get a little bit of seasickness is I do suggest some sea bands, just because sea bands are natural. They work well. They're good even for shore excursions. So even if you have a boat trip, they're really good. And the other thing is also some boning. We actually found on our last cruise, because we often don't get seasick. So even though I bring a few things with me and we bring some ginger candies because we find those are usually super helpful, we hadn't really brought boning. And you know the way it is that whatever you don't bring is what you end up needing. So my husband just wasn't feeling well, and he just couldn't, you know, he couldn't shake that feeling. And some table mates, that were sitting next to us, they gave my husband some boning. He found it worked so well. Just a couple of tablets in the evening time, a couple of pills, and another one in the morning, and that was perfect. So I do suggest, even if you don't think you're going to get seasick, just bring something with you. It's better to be preventative and to have something with you rather than to be stuck. Number 7. So you'll want to also think about like if there's any bugs or anything like that are maybe on those shore excursion days. So we usually bring like some Afterbite, and I often bring some calamine also with a little antihistamine in it. I like that. Sometimes I even bring some allergy medicine like a Benadryl. Sometimes I don't, but I probably should bring it every time because you know what I just said. But yeah, I do find that super helpful, but especially the Afterbite, because sometimes, you know, you can even go to a beach, and like my sister-in-law was on a beach in San Juan, and she ended up getting little sand flea bites in not a great area. And so this was like super helpful to have the Afterbite. Number 8. So along with sunscreen that you're obviously going to bring on your cruise, if you are going to a hot destination, Caribbean, Bermuda, Bahamas, Mexico, anywhere like that. But also it's what if you do get a sunburn? What if anybody gets too much sun? You'll want to make sure that you bring some Aloe Vera gel or something else to cool off the skin after you do get a sunburn if that does happen. Number 9, now hopefully this doesn't happen, but sometimes we get a cold while we're on a cruise, or we get a sore throat, or we get a little cough that's starting. So just make sure that you bring those kind of things just in case. We usually bring like some Halls or something else that's like it, and some cold medicine, a few things like that. And I just kind of keep it in my toiletry bag. I really hope, like I cross my fingers, that we're not going to end up using it, but it is good to have throat lozenges, cold medicine, and some cough candies or something like that. Just have it just in case. And even sometimes when we're flying into a cruise, sometimes we do get a little bit of like something in the sinuses. So sometimes even having a little bit of cold medicine is helpful after, to stop that feeling of blocked ears. So it's a good idea to have a little bit of sinus medication if that does happen to you. Number 10. So these are just some of the handy things that we often bring with us. Now I do actually have a blog post with 31 essential first aid items, so more of the details. So if you are interested in all of that, then I will link it in the description below. But number 10 is those other handy items. We like to bring a little small Visine or something equivalent for our eyes. I just never know when we get a little smoke in our eyes or something like that. So it's very handy to have. You might want to bring eardrops. Sometimes people get a little bit of swimmer's ear while they're on a cruise or on the beach. Some lip balm. Always, 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 I bring lip balm. I like it. You might want to bring some cold sore medication, some cold sore prevention. When you are in the sun, if you are prone to that, then that might be something that does flare up. So those are just some things you might want to think about. Now, maybe there are some things that I didn't mention on this list that should be. If you could leave that in the comments below, I would really appreciate it. Are there items, maybe has it happened to you that you've been on a cruise and that like you've forgotten something and of course that's what you needed? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and consider sharing it with a friend. And of course, if you do like cruise content like this, we do upload a video every week, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel. Now, I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, and I'd love to connect with you there. Happy cruising.